All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Wakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. And peace, love, and salutations to the Akim that's out there laboring, that's up to hope for elect, that's doing this work in truth and sincerity. And pretty much who we have here on the screen is a journalist and podcaster, Candace Owens. Pretty much, she's been going in against the powers that be on her platform, which has over 4 million subscribers. And, I want to pretty much commend this woman pretty much for her journalism, okay? She does things the way that it's supposed to be. When you look at the likes of her and Tucker Carlson and a few others out there, they pretty much deal with integrity. They take that job of journalism seriously. She has proved that she can't be bought. She has proved that she will not bend the knee. Okay, and she's pretty much covered a lot of truth. And she does it in a way of critical thinking, so to speak. Okay, now this particular instance here, okay, she's pretty much speaking about the interview that Tucker Carlson had with Senator Ted Cruz from Texas. And pretty much, it's already being exposed that, a lot of these politicians are, bought and paid for through AIPAC, and, they all support anything that Israel does. And they actually put the agenda of that nation, that state, over, pretty much, things that should be done here in the States. Okay? Now, she's going to go into a particular topic of them talking about the reason why Israel shall be supported. And Ted Cruz referred to it through the scriptures, speaking about whoever bless Israel will bless Israel, whoever curse Israel will be cursed. And we pretty much know that it's not speaking about Israel per se, but it is speaking of the line, okay? But it was pretty much the Lord was speaking to Abraham, all right? And, Abraham had he had many children, but there was a particular line that was going to be the chosen line. Okay, but the particular word was not particularly per se speaking of Yasharallah or Israel. Okay, now she pretty much uncovers our truth, and pretty much the same things that we've been saying years ago, about the small hats and how they're imposters, and we've already been bringing these things out for years, but now she's really coming to the realization, and she's being very inquisitive. That's one of the traits that she has, is being a very inquisitive journalist. And she pretty much checks under the hood and kicks the tires and takes everything with a grain of salt. But now we see that she pretty much is coming to the realization that she knows that deep down inside that she knows that she's from Israel. Okay? All right? She knows that she's pretty much one of the tribes. And when I play this, pretty much this segment, it's going to go into it. Now, mind you, she pretty much came under fire by befriending Kanye West, okay, Ye. All right, her and Ye are pretty much close friends. And Ye has been telling her, even though he goes off on a lot of the truth, but he pretty much, was telling her, that, you're an Israelite. He told her that. Okay, but she pretty much, did her own research. Okay, and now she brings out some information. All right, that pretty much is gonna bust this whole thing wide open. And pretty much, hey, the prophets are out there doing the heavy lifting through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. But you have people now that are waking up via critical thinking. Okay. And just pretty much making common sense with things that are all around them. Okay? Now here it is. Ye, she's good friends with him for years. And they wanted her to pretty much separate herself from him when he was coming under fire, okay? When he was going on his little rants, okay? And then, she has to come to the realization that, wait a minute, why would this billionaire, okay, be willing to sacrifice everything that he owns for truth? You see? And that's pretty much what Ye has done. He goes off a little bit here and there with the truth, but he pretty much sacrificed a lot of wealth, man, for trying to stand 10 toes down in what he believed in. Okay? Now, she's going to get into this little topic concerning all of this whole thing. All right? So, pretty much, sorry to be long-winded, but let's pull a scripture real quick before I play this video. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 27. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared. And pretty much, she's not coming in by the way of scriptures, though. Okay, she is claiming to be a Christian. Okay, all right, but pretty much, her truth is coming out. Okay, pretty much via critical thinking. Okay, and pretty much, and she's using their own books to pretty much condemn them. And their books that which were published. Okay, these are the receipts that she will bring out. You see? All right, but without any further ado, let's play this clip.
Yeah, they're doing all the tricks, and there actually is this Israeli former Israeli minister. I think her name is Shalamut, and she's on camera saying that this is a trick that we use. Like, if all else fails, if anybody questions Israel, we just call them anti-Semitic. And so this is like right from the handbook, of the Zionist handbook, which is like, if something we do is so indefensible, say that people noticing is obsession, and that it's because they hate Jews. It's the oldest hatred in the book. You just hate Jews. It's like, no, you are taking billions of dollars from us every year, and you're demanding that we get involved in your Middle Eastern conflict. Of course, we have a right to talk about Israel. And like I said, you will see this over and over again. And when people decide, I'm actually not offended by that, because I know it's not true. And I know that it's basically a really poor debate tactic. It's just an ad hominem attack. And they seek to become more educated about the state of Israel. The more that you discover, the more indefensible it becomes. Case in point, I'll give you something that happened in the past. You guys remember when Kyrie Irving, they went out and tried to cancel this man, cancel his entire basketball career, because he shared a link. Absent any commentary, he went into Twitter and he tweeted out an Amazon link to a documentary. Now, if the reaction that he got, if nobody reacted, I don't even think anyone would have seen the tweet, honestly. It was so absurd. And it was a tweet to a documentary that was entitled From Hebrews to Negroes. And they just said, oh my gosh, he has to go through steps to be allowed back in the NBA. Skylar, actually, could you pull up what the steps were that they wanted Kyrie Irving? I should have had you pull this up before the show, but they wanted Kyrie Irving to go through 6 steps. And of course, the ADL was involved. They wanted to make him donate money to the ADL, go spend time in Brooklyn with Jewish people, because he shared a documentary link, which, if you want to think, okay, if you're making the argument that we are the original Jews of this land and you're not producing any evidence to that effect, any person has a right to say, I agree with that, I don't agree with that, and you should just be able to debate it. And they were going to cancel Kyrie Irving's entire life. Let me know when you have that, Skylar. Okay, here we go. Sources. The Nets have delivered Kyrie Irving 6 items he must complete to return to the team. He must apologize and condemn the movie. He must make a $500,000 donation to anti-hate causes. He must go through sensitivity training, anti-Semitic training, meet with the ADL and Jewish leaders, and then meet with Joe Tsai to demonstrate understanding. All he did was share a link to a documentary. I kid you not. And so here's what's really crazy, because I had to basically, when I was similarly being canceled for saying Christ is king and for me not agreeing with what's going on in Gaza, I got really educated about topics. And I was shook by the fact that they are canceling Kyrie Irving, Israel is, for information that actually came from Israel itself, or what was Israel, what was before Israel. It was really just Palestine before Israel became a nation. Look up Abraham Pollock. This is incredible. By the way, the thesis of that documentary is that these are not even the original Jews, that actually these are Khazars from a Turkic community. So there's this like Khazarian conspiracy theory, and they call this an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. I want to be clear to suggest that the people that are occupying Israel today are Khazarian Jews, are the Khazarians are from like the kingdom of Khazaria, is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. But now watch this. Skylar, pull up Abraham Pollock. And this is what I mean. It's the tricks that they play. Where did this anti-Semitic conspiracy theory come from? It came from them. It came from somebody who said, I want to figure out who the Ashkenazis are. And he was more than qualified to do it as an anthropologist. And he was living, Abraham Pollock, here we go. Abraham.
And here comes the receipts right here. Okay? You know? Okay? Knowledge is being increased in the earth, man. Okay? All right? The seed is being quenched. You see, now we have our own little references that we have used over the years, you know, with the likes of Arthur Koestler and etc. But she goes with this, pretty much this one here, and this one is very profound. Okay, we're gonna get into this right here. We're gonna get into what these actually say when you Wikipedia this individual by the name of Abraham Pollock. Okay, now watch what she says.
Nahum Pollock was an Israeli historian, a professor at Tel Aviv University since its inception, professor of medieval history, and founder of the Department of Middle Eastern History. His main areas of research were Jewish history, Arab history, nations of Islam and Africa, and the history of the Khazars. Now scroll down, and again, I am doing this all live, so it might take a second here. But essentially, he publishes a book and says, aha, I've done it, my research is over. Actually, we are the Khazarians, and we are from a Turkic tribe. And they had these Turkic tribes, the Ishkenaz, the Ashkenaz, and that's who we actually are. I want to be clear, this book was published, the book called Khazaria, History of a Jewish Kingdom in Europe, and he states that the Khazars were the demographic foundation of the Jews who inhabited Eastern Europe, and this was such groundbreaking stuff that he did. Look at this. This is 1941. He says they then mass converted to Judaism. He was awarded. Tel Aviv University awarded him, thank you for doing this research. Again, this is before the modern state of Israel. And then, guess what? He also, you can see there, he served in the IDF. So we're not going to call him anti-Semitic, are we? He served in the IDF through the formation of the state of Israel. So this guy gets awards from Tel Aviv University, and now he's serving in the IDF when they just kick out a bunch of Palestinians. And after they do this, they say, stop publishing his book because it doesn't help what we are trying to do. That's on the Wikipedia page. I want this to be shown that this is on the Wikipedia page. The rabbi said we should stop publishing this book because it doesn't help our argument that we're now making that we are the original Jews. This is on this Wikipedia page. Okay. So Kyrie Irving, in theory, could have just read this book, which was published by someone who received awards for the research that he did, tracing the Ashkenazis back to this kingdom of the Khazars. And then they never removed his awards. They never called him anti-Semite. They never said, well, we've debunked his scientific activity. In fact, the rabbis said, this is not helpful for us to say this, that we are Khazars, now that we have established the modern state of Israel. That's on this Wikipedia somewhere. You can scroll down. We should probably find it, saying that it was not helpful, I think was the exact terms. So when I saw this, I was just like, the actual audacity to attack Kyrie Irving, to give him 6 steps, to say that he's an anti-Semite for something that you know that your own historians published as fact and received awards for before the creation of the state of Israel, before you pulled this book, is asinine. It is absolutely asinine. And the more you will find little things like that, where the things that we are being called anti-Semites for, essentially, it's if you know anything about the history of the modern state of Israel, like if you learn about Bella Hadid's family and how they got the land and stuff, that is when they attack you the hardest. When there is a truth there is when they attack you the hardest. And there are tons of books. I've read more books like that came from former IDF soldiers, people that lived in Israel. And there are tons of historians who have written books to that effect. But I just wanted you to know, like, that is the level of gaslighting that they take part in now. Like, oh, the science, I guess it's like COVID, the science changed, the anthropologist was wrong, he never got his award revoked, but like, okay, whatever. Here it is in the Wikipedia page. Thank you guys for finding this. It reads, Nonetheless, the same assumptions which Pollack presented in his book were the target of criticism in various circles because of their possible ramifications on the right of Jews to settle in Israel. As early as 1944, the Jewish historian Aaron Zeev asserted, quote, "I do not know what enjoyment and dignity he finds in our Turkish Mongolian descent rather than our Jewish ancestry." And so they just shut it down. They were like, this is not okay. And they stopped publishing this book. So I just wanted to do a very late defense of Kyrie Irving because, like I said, the more you look into things, it's the lies, it's the deception, it's the audacity to try to ruin the lives of others when they discover something that is patently true, or at least you accept it as being a patent truth. If you've changed your history and decided that this is no longer relevant and that Abraham Pollack is a raging anti-Semite, fine. But you better hang him before you hang Kyrie Irving, is all I'm saying, because I'm getting a little bit tired about that. By the way.
And there you go with the receipts. You see? She's kicking the tires, man. She's being much more inquisitive, man, about what's going on. Okay? And she's doing it in the likes of these scholars that are writing in these books, man. Okay? Using the skill of critical thinking, man. You know? So Jake better wake the hell up, man. Okay? You know, and you know, a lot of people pretty much you know, dislike this woman. And the reason why they dislike her is because she always thought outside the box. Even when Jake really operates in a one-track mind, and they're in their feelings. So when she thinks about something that's outside the box, that will pretty much free your mind of the mental slavery that this devil has cast upon our people, okay? You know, they smeared her, man. Okay, they pretty much smeared her, man. You know, and she pretty much is all for her people, man. You know, and there's of course there's reports out there, that she pretty much married a Edomite and she got 10 babies, but at the end of the day, she did an interview with her on her own husband. Now this individual, he may be a Jake, man. All right, I'm gonna say it again. The husband of Candace Owens may very well be a Jake, and I'll probably do a lesson in next coming days, pretty much touching on that topic. Okay, all right, because when you go back into his history, okay, he might go back to Jake's, man. All right, the dude was pretty much a calm and collective dude. Basically when she was interviewing her own husband. But that's for another topic though. But I want to get to the scripture real quick, okay? Because pretty much they stopped publishing that particular book from Abraham Pollack before they created the state of Israel in 1948, okay? But let's go with Ezekiel, all right? All right, because you got to remember that we're scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, man, okay? And we're going to come in looking like the heathen, man, all right? All right, this is Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 1. Also, thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord. Thus said the Lord power, because the enemy has said against you, aha, even ancient high places are ours in possession. And this is pretty much when they took over that land, okay? All right, in 1948, all right? The enemy has said, aha, okay? You see? And now they pretty much are using that as the centerpiece to pretty much world domination, man. Okay, you got to understand that the powers that be are working through that state. Okay, that state to pretty much accomplish world dominance, man. Okay, and this here in Babylon is pretty much the muscle. Okay, all right, you see. So they're pretty much they have been a guard unto this land. Okay, speaking of Israel. Okay, all right. Babylon is only the muscle. Okay, that helps to get things done. Okay, and it says, therefore prophesy and say, thus say the Lord power, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that you might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen, that you may take up. You have been taken up in the lips of talkers, and on an infamy of the people, and it's pretty much when we've been conquered, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, okay, amongst the heathen, okay. But now we're at the lips of talkers and with envy of the people, okay, pretty much being a byword, okay, all right, and a proverb amongst the nations, man, okay, totally destroyed. And anywhere you see us scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, we are a destroyed people, man, okay. You see, anywhere you go on the earth where you have our people dwelling, okay, or suffering oppression, or suffering to be ostracized, or suffering as being outcast, okay, and are pretty much on the bottom of that particular society, man, okay, all right, those are in fact the Lord's people, man, okay, and we're going to be looking like the heathen, man, all right, in these other nations, man. So we cannot be so quick to judge a book by its cover, man, okay. You got to go with the spirit, okay. So next verse, it says, therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord power. Salakia. Let me pull it back up real quick. Salakia on that. Therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord power. Thus said the Lord power to the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, and to the desolate wastes, and to the cities that are forsaken, which become a prey and a derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Therefore, thus said the Lord power, surely in the jealous fire of my jealousy, I have spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which is Edom, which have appointed my land and their possession with the joy of their heart, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. And basically that's what they did, man. Okay, all right. They have taken possession of that land, all right, with despiteful minds, man. Okay, and they pretty much are doing their bidding of world dominance, man. Okay, all right. So this is why you're seeing a lot of this ruckus and war that's going on right now in that region, man. Okay, all right. You're looking at the number one instigator of this whole thing, man. Okay, you got to understand that they have a so-called manifesto to pretty much conquer, man. Okay, all right. And Iran is pretty much on their hit list, man. Okay, this has been on their hit list for years. All right, and this is we're in the process of seeing that now, and we're seeing to where the United States is pretty much going to get pulled into this whole thing 2 feet in, man. Okay, you see, all right, the least of the flock should draw them out, man. Okay, we're in the midst of that, man, and it's going to go down either one way or the other, man. Whether it right now is a ceasefire or whatever you want to call it, it's going to go down. Okay, all right, and this whole thing is going to go full throttle straight into World War III, man. You see, all right. Let's get back. Let's see if there's a little bit more she got to say here.
Further to that point, I wanted to show you this AP headline today, speaking further to Ted Cruz's assertion that it's a Christian understanding that we must support this state. 34 people were killed today in the deadliest day of shootings near Gaza's new food distribution center. So kids are running for food and they are being shot. That footage is available. You can look at it on X. I retweeted it. Obviously, we can't show it on YouTube or we will get hit with some sort of you're not allowed to show violence on YouTube.
Yeah, so basically, if you go on these other platforms, you can see actually things that are going on here. And for these senators to try to say, use the Bible passage or the scriptures to justify things that are being done, okay, a critical thinker knows that it doesn't add up, man. Okay, all right. So Jake needs to wake the hell up, man. Here it is. You have somebody here that's pretty much this. She doesn't really know the truth through the scriptures, okay, but through critical thinking, looking under the hood, checking the tires, okay, seeing how these she mentioned Kyrie Irving, another one, man. Where a man that's pretty much a millionaire, multi-millionaire, man. Okay, and what kind of hurdles he had to go through just by posting a book link through Amazon, man. Okay, you see, all right, and plus with her close ties with Ye, all right. So she pretty much is putting 2 and 2 together, man. And she's gonna be pushed more through the spirit, man, to really start really digging and getting into this, man. Okay? You see? She's going to really get after them, because the thing with her is that when they push at her, she pushes back harder. Okay? And she always comes with receipts, man. Okay? So that's what you see of a pure journalist. Okay? The excellent work that she has done, man. You got to pretty much give her flowers at the end of the day, man. Okay? You know, and like I said, nothing trumps the scriptures at the end of the day. But, you know, when you have people that are out there that are pretty much bringing out facts and receipts, okay, through critical thinking, okay, hey, that's another way where Jake can pretty much wake up from that thing too, of pretty much unlocking their mind. Before we all came into this truth, we basically was conscious, so to speak, of things that were going on around us. Okay, so this pretty much can unlock a lot of the mental that's going on in Jake's warped sense of mind frame. You see? Okay? And then once they hear the scriptures and line everything up with the scriptures, that pretty much, man, opens them up, man. Okay? You get that spiritual clock, okay? Starts to tick pretty much. Okay? You see? All right? From there, let's go to Salaki, if I played too much of the video, I just wanted to make the point, get the point across, and I hope, this is all for the sake of edification at the end of the day. Okay? Okay, people have their reservations about this woman, but hey, man, like I said, that when you got somebody that's pretty much bringing out truth and is pretty much lining things up the way that we've been saying it for years, and she's even bringing out a reference in the book that we never even really spoke about, man. Okay, and she spoke on the fact that this book has won many awards. Okay, so pretty much, man, hey, we can't knock her for that, man. Okay, we can't knock her for that. Jake is just too emotional, and they got to get out of their feelings and stop listening to what media is basically saying. Okay, they tried to demonize her amongst the black community, man. Okay, and they didn't really understand what angle she was coming at, man. But she was just somebody simply thinking outside the box, man. Okay, and thinking outside the box is always a good thing for Jake. Okay, all right. Jake is like crabs in a barrel. All right, and pretty much in a regular mindset. Okay, they're just crabs in a barrel, man. Jake always thinks alike. They always easily being moved and emotional. Okay, and hey, the Lord is spiritually his spiritual army is not supposed to even be thinking that in that kind of way, or even getting any kind of feelings pretty much towards when you see what's really going on and using spiritual discernment, man. Okay, spiritual discernment is very, very key. Okay, and stop listening to the noise of what mainstream media may say. What BET may say. Okay, and stay locked in the spirit and see the things that are going on around us and how things are being spoken of that wasn't never even mentioned, man, before. As far as us, how we spoke about it years ago, but you're seeing now how mainstream media, or pretty much media itself, people that are fucking that are pretty much kicking the tires and checking things out and looking into it, they can see it for themselves, man. All right. From here, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 19. O Yahweh, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. And that's the point right there, man. And this is the time that we're gonna be coming into, man. Okay, the truth is being unearthed, man. Okay, you see, and it's pretty much gonna cause a controversy. Okay, this is where the persecution is gonna come in. Okay, because the truth is gonna be so overwhelming, they're gonna have to get carnal and lay hands, man. Okay. All right, so we see that coming through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Abashad, man. And these things must need to happen, man. Okay? So pretty much, man, even with her platform, she's pretty much getting Jake, because Jake does listen to her to a degree, okay, to pretty much unlock that mental, man, okay, all right, and start using critical thinking, man, okay. Critical thinking pretty much, man, is usually the path to just understanding the truth. But you need the scriptures, man, to ultimately be fully immersed through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. You know, sometimes you have these people unlocking their mind in that sense of being conscious, and then once they hear the scriptures, man, everything all clicks, man. You know, that's how a lot of us pretty much woke up to this truth, man. You know, all right. So I'm gonna end it there. You know, truth is pretty much coming out on multiple levels. Okay, you see, and pretty much, man. Hey, we're just gonna continue to watch and pray, man. You know. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakak Kodash. Shalom.